Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation. Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Real Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. On this 23rd day, I'm watching the Bills game. Looks like Bills got they're up 12-0 there. Just scored again. Slow start for Jacksonville. I'm surprised about this because their back's against the wall. This game is in Buffalo, and I know that Cincinnati plays tonight. I think they're going to bounce back and play really well tonight, possibly cover that 7.5 over the Washington Commanders. Got a great show with you for tonight. The Falcons, what kind of game do you have to play to beat the Chiefs? Yeah, that was one bad no call. Got a little bit of a bite here from Raheem Morris I'll play and comment on, plus breaking news. Derwin James suspended one game for what looks to be headhunting, according to Adam Schefter, ESPN. And, of course, that game is going to be against Kansas City. And then the narrative continues that the league is in it to get Kansas City their third championship in a row. I don't believe that. I think they're just a very good team. People used to say that about the Patriots. Got a lot of other games we want to talk about today, of course. Baltimore finally gets a win. Biggest win in a year and a half for the Eagles, okay? And, of course, the hottest coordinator and the hottest team, the Minnesota Vikings, talk about them as well. So let's take our first and only break. I'll be back here after a few short announcements, and we'll hit the ground running here on the Real Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program.
I'm Mac, CEO of National Streaming Sports and host of the Mac and Jack Sports Show. You're watching the sharp-dressed man and the big story breaker, Robert Butler, on Sports Scope, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern on National Streaming Sports. Thanks. To get the National Streaming Sports channel on your Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports. There's the channel search in Roku. There's our logo right on the right, NESSP. Tap on the logo, and it will add to your TV, the channel to your TV. On your laptop, tablet, and mobile phone, download the free Roku app and channel search just like above. If you don't have Roku TV, you have to order a Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your smart TV, and bang, you have Roku TV. Again, channel search, National Streaming Sports, click on our NESSP logo, and add the channel. National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage, for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old, and remember, bet responsibly.
All righty. Now I am back here, folks. Okay. So as I mentioned to you before, I do Uber on the side. I do a car advertise on the side where put an advertisement on a vehicle and drive around. And I tell you what, we had an event to do for the Titans and Green Bay game, and just want to give a shout out to Brian and his wife. Did not catch his wife's name. I gave him a ride to the game. She's originally from the Wisconsin area, if I'm not mistaken, and a big Packer fan. She had the Packer jersey on. Brian had the Titans jersey on. This couple's originally from Daytona Beach. Really cool with me. Appreciate you taking a picture in front of the car. Good company there. As I'm giving you a ride to the stadium, very busy town here in Nashville at game time, and of course, just an event city. Anybody that I pick up in the Uber that subscribe to one, and I want to say I think you did subscribe to my YouTube. I do want to thank you, and I want to give you a public shout out on the program. I greatly appreciate that. That was their first NFL game for both of them. They had good seats, really excited. And of course, he had a Titans jersey on. She had the Packers shirt on as well. But he says, I want Green Bay to win. Happy wife, happy life. I thought that was pretty funny. Just a good shout out to you all before I get started with today's show. Okay. Yeah, Pickle says, go Pack, go. Well, that will help the Titans get a better draft pick at this point. I'll get into them a little bit tomorrow. Also, tomorrow, tune in 30 minutes past the hour. I'll have Rich Ferris on from Titans Flagship. What is the mood in the locker room? Is it divided? Do players want to put Mason Rudolph in? Gonna ask him those key questions. He covers the team unofficially. He's my insider. That is the flagship for the Titans. So Rich Ferris will be back on tomorrow. And Keith Engel. I mentioned Keith Engel last week. Will be on Wednesday, Pickles. Very good show Wednesday. Big win from Michigan. Actually becoming relevant this year, beating USC. And, of course, we'll talk Tennessee, Oklahoma. And, of course, Georgia and Alabama will play. I'm trying to get Ken Norris, big Alabama fan, to come on Thursday. He's going to get back with me. But I will talk about that with Keith Engel on Wednesday. Love Keith's show, Stream of Conscious. You can see Keith. You can look up, I think it is, you can find him on the Northeast Streaming Sports. He interviews ex-baseball players from the Major League Baseball, coaches and whatnot. Keith is really, really good. He should have a national show on XM radio, particularly in college football. I actually like listening to him more than Paul Feinbaum now. Feinbaum's looking for controversy and stuff. He's kind of getting away from being authentic. The Paul that I know from a few years ago. But he was good to me when I did call on his show before. I love Paul, but Keith is great. He's my college football go-to guy, okay, for the Real Sports Scope. He will be on Wednesday, 30 minutes past the hour. And, of course, hopefully we'll have back the Mad New Yorker here on Friday talking about a couple of recaps, and we'll catch up with him. Hopefully he'll be back this week, and he won't have a Mets game to attend. But if he does, we will we will do like we did this past week. Show went great. Pickles really helps me out here with the picks as well. Thank you, Pickles. Chiefs Falcons. Okay, Chiefs Falcons. That was I tell you what I do is, and I know I say this every week to everybody, I watch the game on delay on purpose because I do not like to watch 10,000 commercials. I know that pays for the bills. You see I had some commercials here to start this program out. That being said, good game for about a half. And when you started seeing those offensive linemen go out for Atlanta, I said, okay, this is not Patrick Mahomes. This is Kirk Cousins coming off of Achilles. I know they're still leading. This game is over. And all this talk about that non-pass interference call, it was a pass interference call. I understand last week there was a pass interference call in Kansas City's favor by the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, mind you, I do love me some Lou Anarumo. Him, Brian Flores, and Steve Spagnuolo, Spags for the Chiefs are my 3 favorite defensive coordinators in the league as of right now. Denard Wilson with Tennessee, he's pretty good, but you can't do nothing with a quarterback like that. It turns the ball over. But that being said, the Bengals have had I'm going to make a bigger point here in a second. They've have a habit of roughing receivers up, getting too soon to the ball. Why did that Bengals team lose the Super Bowl to the Rams? Because they were mugging Cooper Kupp. Coaches are pointing that out, and now the refs are really watching their defensive backs more closely. They're very good, they're well coached, but they're borderline dirty, a lot like the Patriots used to be with Ty Law and that group there. They cover well, but also they hold. They do some stuff that's borderline. It's flat out illegal. They just don't get caught for it. Okay? That's why I think that call was made in favor of the Chiefs last week. It ticked me off too. I picked Cincinnati to win the whole thing. I don't want to look stupid here. They're 0-2. I think they'll run roughshod tonight. That being said, yes, it was a bad call, non-call in the favor of the Chiefs again. But mind you, folks, even if they score, okay, and go up 3, Patrick Mahomes with all that time left and 4 minutes to go, they would have beat them anyways. That game was over with when the center went out and the right tackle, it looks like he's going to be out for a while, this right tackle here. So, that's the story of the game. There's a certain way, but don't let me get too far ahead of myself. I just learned a new aspect, how to add video, outside video and quotes. So you're going to get more. Sports Scope, the real Sports Scope is going to be that much better, folks. Listen to what Raheem Morris said after the game when a reporter was trying to bait him into saying the refs missed the call. Listen.
Coach, we were just on the phone with the league office. They said the third down play was a judgment call on the field. They didn't see the pass interference. It looked like it was clearly pass interference on the replay.
I like my money, Led. I like my money that Arthur Blank gives me.
You don't have to get fined for that.
Yeah, you do. I'm very smart enough to be aware enough to talk about officials. They made the call, or they didn't make the call. It is what it is. We had a chance to win the football game on the last play of the game.
That's true. He had a chance to win the game on the last play. 4 minutes to go. Plus, they got the ball back. I mean, listen, the game was over with when you lost your center, man. When you lost your center. Jesse Bates. Yeah, Jesse Bates came from Cincinnati, So it is what it is. They played a good game. Atlanta's playing like a team that's probably going to win that division. Well, maybe not. I don't know. I'll get to the can't bake the smart head. Yeah. Raheem Morris ain't going to get. He's not going to get $25,000 fine. And it may be $75,000 now. Not in this inflationary period. And like, no, man, we make a lot, but we're spending a lot. Okay. I'm not giving up that money to criticizing these refs. Like he said, they had a shot to win and they blew it. Okay. As I've mentioned before, not to sound like a broken record, you can make mistakes against Kansas City, but you have to finish late. You have to stay dedicated to your running game, and you got to convert third down. And defensively, you're going to have to push Patrick Mahomes backwards and having him guess out there and throw into double and triple coverage. You want him backing up, throwing off, because he's got such a strong arm, he can get away with it. All right. But you have to stay disciplined to your running game and convert. It can be done. The Raiders beat them in Kansas City last year. The Green Bay Packers beat them, all right, with a young Jordan Love and the youngest team in the league late in the season last year. They're not indefensible. People said this same thing about the New England Patriots in 2007, and the Giants proved that. They got close to the end of the season. They beat them later on in the season. A lot of these teams are beating themselves when they're playing the Chiefs. I don't think there's a big conspiracy saying, as an indication that they're just going to win everything because the league just wants to see Mahomes and Kels and Taylor Swift. That's just a bunch of nonsense. The same thing was being said about the Patriots, folks. This just a bad. Now they've caught break after break after break this year, and now they're playing the Chargers with Justin Herbert in a walking boot. But first, let me read the breaking news that happened about 10 minutes before I came on the program. Adam Schefter says in a letter to Derwin James, the NFL's vice president, that's the starting safety, folks, the one of big playmakers for the Chargers. They desperately need him next week because they're playing the Chiefs. In a letter to Derwin James, NFL Vice President of Operations, John Runyon, wrote, during the third quarter of Sunday's Chargers-Steelers game, you were involved in a play that violates league serious violation of playing rules. The video of the play showed that you lowered your head and made a forcible contact with the Steelers' pack fire move. It's hard to take down those tight ends of that size. He lowered his head, and of course, now he's been suspended for this next game. It goes on to say you had an unobstructed path to your opponent and legal contact been avoided. Your continued disregard for NFL playing rules will not be tolerated. Substantial penalties are warranted when players violate rules and intend to protect player safety. Repeated biases. James will be eligible to return on Monday night, September the 30th, following the game's game on the 29th. Of course, that's against the Kansas City Chiefs. That helps the Chiefs again. So the conspiracy continues on the grassy knoll, Pickles. So I put out that I put out a meme about that that I read off of the off the X app. This is from ML Football. Following the X app. This is last week pass interference call. The Bengals against the Chiefs. This week, clear pass interference on Chiefs defender against the Falcons. No call from NFL refs. This is crazy. It's a very similar call. What I just mentioned about the Bengals hitting the Chiefs player, pass interference on the fourth down. And, of course, the one last night, again, there's 4 minutes left in the game. I mean, come on, man. Don't rely on the refs. So, but anyway, so I put that picture and screenshot on my Facebook, and Jason Patterson, who covers the Chiefs, my friend on Facebook said he thought it was a pass interference call. So it is what it is. You can't rely on the refs here to help you win games. You've got to go out and win it on your own. Make no excuses. Ty Law used to mug wide receivers for the Patriots. Yeah, I remember. Now, that was over 20 years ago, but I clearly remember the 2001, February of 2002 Super Bowl against the Rams, where they were mugging Torrey Holt and that bunch there, and ultimately end up winning. Yeah. James is a headhunter. He's a throwback guy. He fits in with the great Sean Taylors and Ronnie Lotts of the world, So anyways, it is what it is. Chiefs win again, and they're probably in line to win next week because that Steelers game played out the way I thought it would. Herbert played, got re-injured. The good news is he's not. The X-ray came out negative. I predicted 16-10, posted that video on my social media. It was Steelers. It turned out to be 20-10. Steelers end up winning. Herbert left in a walking boot, and now they're going to have no Derwin James and a banged-up Herbert. I'm not risking him getting any more banged up. I'm trying to work out something else. Beside that, they've already got 2 wins. They're 2-1. They're likely going to be 2-2 this time next week. We'll have to get over it. That's just the way it is. The Chiefs are just simply catching breaks right now, but I think that things are not going to hold on too well too soon for the Chiefs due to their issues at left tackle. At running back, I know they got the fill-in guy there, but also you got to look at the fact that they're not going to continue to be this fortunate. They're going to hit they're going to hit their stride. Now they're moving, they're switching tackles in and out. Okay, this vision's going to get better. You saw the Denver one yesterday. The Raiders are a little up and down. There's an unfortunate loss, but they have beat the Ravens. They could beat them. And, of course, this Charger team will get healthy as the season goes along. Things are only going to get better. You just cannot rush back in some of these injuries. You're going to have to let Herbert sit and get fully healthy, although he does have a habit of getting hurt just about every year. You know, he's got the best running game he's ever had. I wonder what the heck happened in that Charger game. I had to go back and look at the film. You know, Pickle says old school like Jack Tatum, Derwin James, and they're thin as all get out at running back. You know, and of course Andy Dalton looked like Tom Brady. The Raiders were up and down. It took a lot out of the Raiders to beat that Ravens team. You know, okay. I've got to say this here. Coordinator of the year 3 weeks into the season is Brian Flores. I mean, man, another masterpiece. Their first round pick, who was it, Dallas Turner, the edge rusher from Alabama, he's out. Remember, they had 2 first round. They traded back and got Turner. And, of course, they got J.J. McCarthy. He got hurt in the preseason. He's on IR. But Flores, man, 7 points to a red-hot quarterback. I was just talking about C.J. Stroud, folks, as possibly being the MVP of the league. You can't make this stuff up. They're the most shocking team of the league because they got it on both sides. You know, you could still run a little bit on the Saints, and I'll talk about them here in a minute. But this Flores is just, man, unbelievable. Let me go here and see if I can get this stat line here. By the way, Sam Darnold, he's going to be okay as well. He got banged up in that game, but 4 touchdowns, no interceptions for Darnold. 119 quarterback rating here. And 2 interceptions there for C.J. Stroud. That defense was all over him, man. It's like they had 15 guys out there. And now I'm going to have to go back and look. Yeah, by the way, Bills are up 13-3, and Bengals scored out of the tunnel here. Jamar Chase, of course, from Joe Burrow, 41-yard touchdown. Yeah, I kind of figured that. I'm not as good as I once was, if I ever was. Yeah, 34-7. Flores defense, man. Stroud, man, 68.6 quarterback rating. What did he have? QBR 25.1. That got to him 4 sacks, 2 interceptions there for C.J. Stroud. Playing out of this world, not so much against this Brian Flores-led defense here. I got this from Art Morvo from his X-handle is My Sports Update. He works with the 33rd team. He says the Vikings have recorded 5 sacks in week 1, 6 sacks in week 2, 5 sacks in week 3, are the third team since 1990 to have at least 5 sacks in each of their first 3 games of the season, joining the 2001 Saints and the 2000 Buccaneers. Really good teams there, especially that Buccaneer team went on later to win the Super Bowl just a few short years later. Now, statistically, that Pittsburgh team is the best defense for us now. Yards allowed overtaking Tennessee, and points allowed as Pittsburgh. But if I were ranking them going against quality opponent, playing that 49er team and playing the Texans, you got to give the crown to Flores' defense and, of course, that Minnesota roster there. And it's not even a bunch of superstars. They've got Harrison Smith on there, who's a little long in the tooth, pretty big name, former Pro Bowler there. And, of course, you got Stephon Gilmore. He's 34 years old, long in the tooth as well. But these guys, they get sacks, they run stunts, they run blitzes. He throws you need a guy like that running your defense to beat a guy like I started to say Joe Burrow, like a Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you need a guy like that. You know, I'll put it this way. If this guy, if somehow Detroit could have moved off Aaron Glenn and got Brian Flores with their talent on both sides of the ball, I would pick him not to just get to the Super Bowl, but to win the whole thing. That's how good a coordinator this guy is. Now, of course, I know he's suing the league, and it come off terrible from what Tua said in the offseason about how his relationship was with Flores when Flores was coaching the Miami Dolphins there, talking about you're a loser. You don't deserve his job. You're not going to make it in this league. That tough love beats you down and builds you back up type of coaching. Very old school, throwback, backwards, dinosaur type of approach here. But I do like the fact, now, of course, Tua said that over the summer in a podcast per se. But Flores owns it. Flores owns it and say, listen, I'm here to learn and evolve. So that comment the next day probably will get Flores a job offer. But here's what I'm here to say. I just don't think, I know he had a winning record there at Miami, and maybe if he gets a Andrew Luck type of quarterback there to whatever team he goes to, would the Cowboys take a chance with him? I don't know. Somebody like that. Would the Eagles take a chance with him? He would butt heads with Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lord. But maybe the Eagles might if the Eagles underachieve this year. But he needs a very talented quarterback because he's coming from the defensive side. I'm saying all that because I think he's really just head coordinator material. But he's going to get another shot at the end. This defense is playing way too good. They were too bad. Remember, they got punked out. They got beat by Daniel Jones before he came there just a couple of years ago. They got beat by Daniel Jones, and now he has did a whirlwind. Danielle Hunter is a Houston Texan now. That was their best pass rusher. They've moved off players. They moved off a lot of players. And they got an offensive minded head coach. They gave a lot of money to Justin Jefferson. They gave a lot of money to their tackle, and they're still doing well with less big names. So kudos to Flores. He had a bad reputation, but is an excellent coach, is what Pickle says. I mean, the guy's great. He's assistant of the year, and now it's 3 weeks into the season, But remember, he beat the 49ers. And he beat the Texans, 2 teams that I have going to the playoffs. And the Texans may go far, So he's really he's really having a season right here. And you got to give it to him because they simply do not have the names. And, of course, I just mentioned, breakout player with his second – this is his third team, if I'm not mistaken, of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold, who's got 4 touchdowns. And against Houston's defense, I just mentioned they've got a really good corner there in Stingley. They've got a massive Will Anderson, and of course, I just mentioned Danielle Hunter. Wicked pass rush, and it's this guy 74 quarterback rating, 170 something plus. I think it's 117 rating there. 17 for 28, 4 touchdowns, no picks. So he's going to be a good fantasy player. And mind you, they didn't have Jordan Addison, the second receiver. And they still ain't got their lead tight end yet. Hockenson started off the season on IR. So once they get these guys back, that's a series. These games against Detroit and Green Bay, they're going to get flexed out to prime time. Who would have thought the NFC North with Detroit 10 years ago? Detroit it's got the number 1 pick multiple times. They're always picking in the top 5. That's the team that I grew up post Barry Sanders. They got the number 1 pick. They got the number 3 pick or whatever, number 4 pick. Get Calvin Johnson. They got Stafford. You're used to talking about Detroit at April because they're usually got the worst team and they're going to get one of these very talented players in the draft. You're not used to talking about them as a potential Super Bowl team in the toughest conference. Minnesota's had some good times here. They've got to the AFC Championship game back in 2017, only get demolished by the Eagles. They've had their Randy Moss years. Very good team, I want to say, in the 90s with Moss's rookie year where they got the NFC Championship, 1 loss there. But other than that, they're a team, usually they're just not that very good defensively. They've had a good receiver here and there, or Chris Carter, somebody. And they've got a cool horn there, and that's about it. And they wear purple. That's all I thought about the Vikings. But now they have a very good defense. They've got this guy who's resurrected his career like Geno Smith and Sam Darnold. And now, tomorrow, I'm going to give you my Power 5. I got to wait till the last 2 games in. Looks like Buffalo's in good shape, but it's still early. But I gotta put Minnesota in there, man. I gotta put Minnesota's just got a really good resume, and we saw this last year. But remember, they went through quarterback. They went through quarterback musical chairs, bringing Josh Dobbs in there. They had their backup hurt, and I forgot who that was. And you know that Kirk Cousins tore his Achilles. They were doing musical chairs at quarterback, and now it's 20-3. Yeah, Buffalo's rolling right now. If the playoffs started today, Buffalo would really be did Keon Coleman ever catch his touchdown? Yes. I had Keon Coleman pickles on anytime touchdown, and Keon Coleman got his first touchdown of the year. Had him on the FanDuel, or you can bet it on BetUS too, of course. But Keon Coleman has got his first touch, so it looks like Buffalo's going to be in there as well. But anyways, I digress. Here. That's a second round pick out of Florida State there. Just giving you an update here on things. Yeah, the Buffalo's rolling. I don't even know if Carlos, Bad New Yorker, has got the nerve enough to show his face again on the Real Sports Scope, because he's really dogging out Buffalo, folks. Yeah, I don't know what Buffalo's did to him, but he's really got a problem with the Buffalo Bills here. So anyways, I'm really proud of what Kevin O'Connell's done. He's the quarterback whisperer right now. Very good with quarterbacks. I really admire this guy. They've got a star coach up there. I've been saying this since last year. Could he be the next Andy Reid? Who knows? Not to overreact from 1 week to the next, but it just is what it is. All right. So, all right. Great mood tonight. Great football this past week, right? I mean, some games kind of good, others were not. All right. Listen, I'm not here to be hyperbolic. I'm excited about the game. I love the game of the NFL. All of you know I put a lot of time and money and effort into this. And I'm not exaggerating. That Eagles win. And I've had the feel. And next week, I've got this week booked up. I'm going to try to get Jamie Paggs, the Philly sports guy, famous guy, back on the program. Remember what I told you last week that Jamie said, listen, we've had a rough time winning down in New Orleans. For whatever reason, we just don't match up well. So, big win. Vic Fangio, I was throwing you under the bus because I knew y'all had talent. Jalen Carter, Davis there, the other tackle, all those Georgia players, Nolan Smith, Jacoby Dean, Ringo, Darius Slay, which he had made some good plays the other day. I saw Darius. I see you, Darius. You're still out there playing well. This team was way too good. Jalen Carter is a big-time player at defensive tackle, and they went on the road without A.J. Brown. I didn't realize how big a deal this was, and leaned into that running game with Saquon Barkley and that defense who held the best offense coming in the league points-wise. That Saints team held them to 12 points, and they really kept that run in check. I thought that was going to be the highest scoring game of the week with the Arizona game with Detroit. Neither one really turned out to be that. But that's what happened. 147, 2 touchdowns for Barkley. That's the biggest win since last November when they beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. That's the biggest win for the Eagles since they beat the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. You guys remember they went on they fell off a cliff after that, losing to the 49ers. Then they lost to Tampa there. Looked sloppy, out of place, the Tampa game in the playoffs here. And, of course, they should be 3-0. They should have beat Atlanta. If it wasn't for Nick Sirianni having a brain cramp and just running the clock down, knocking that extra, 24, 25 seconds off, kicking the field goal, and giving that less time for Kirk Cousins to go down and get a touchdown. He's Kirk Cousins. He's not that great a player. But short week. Listen, that A.J. Brown thing is a big deal. That's a big deal. Here's some of Jalen Hurts' stats with and without Jalen Brown. With Jalen Brown, 237 yards a game, 47 touchdowns, 23 interceptions, rating of 94%. Unbelievable, right? Without Jalen Brown, 146 yards a game, 23 touchdowns instead of 27, 15 interceptions, rating of 85. I mean, he's a big difference maker. That's why he wanted that extra money in the offseason. And, of course, Jeffrey Lurie wrote him the check in A.J. Brown. But the truth of the matter is you've got to have balance. You've got to lean on that running game, and that's exactly what they did. And, of course, listen, he didn't have a great game yesterday. He did turn the ball over a couple times, a matter of fact. Where does his stats at? Yeah, no touchdowns, 1 interceptions. But he did run for 8 yards, 8 carries for 25 yards. He kept himself out of harm's way, and they won the game. He managed the game. Sometimes you just – Tom Brady one time against the Colts. You remember this, Pickles? 4 touchdowns for LeGarrette Blount. Nothing for Tom Brady, but they win, beating the Colts going away, and they move on in the playoffs. sometimes you just have to manage a game. Forget about stats, okay? That's a good maturation move by Jalen Hurts. Now, it cost me in fantasy. But that is a good move there by Jalen Hurts there, So, anyways, the flip side is I don't know what Vic Fangio done. I know that they did keep Alvin Kamara to 87 yards rushing, 89 total there, and I think he may have just simply figured out Clint Kubiak's offense. Okay, big win. They should be 3-0. I expected them to. I expected this team to win the East, and I think they're in good position to do so. Okay. All righty then. Just enough for the city. Who else am I? Okay, so Baltimore. All right. As I said, the Ravens. Pickle says Jalen Carter went nuts on the sideline. As long as he don't speed and get himself in any trouble, he's good to go. All right, now this is about the way I predicted it. I said the Ravens would go back. They'll lean on a running game. They're more desperate. They're flat out more talented. They were in the AFC Championship game. They had the best record in the NFL last year. I want to say Lamar Jackson was 28-1 against the NFC or was some crazy stat like that. And of course, they, almost blew another lead last week, just like they did to Vegas. And just like they did back in 22 to the Dolphins, it was 28-6 in the third quarter. So, but they did end up getting a win. They covered that 1.5 spread here. But, like I said, that's the third time they just about blown a big lead like that. If I'm John Harbaugh, I'm rotating players on defense more into the fourth quarter. I'm getting a little bit more aggressive in games, particularly to show the defense is something they haven't seen before. That being said, listen, they ran for 274 yards, 151 out of Derrick Henry alone. That's their recipe for winning. That they have to run. They have to run. They have to stick with the run. And they've got to keep Lamar Jackson out of harm's way. If Lamar's running, he needs to. And I've said this about every quarterback. Tua included. All Lamar's tough. But he has gotten hurt before he got that contract. I've said that. But this is a better team when they're a heavy run team and a play action team. Now that they just don't have Andrews, they have Isaiah Likely to throw to. They have a true number one receiver at Zay Flowers, but they have to stick with their running game and just suck the air out of the stadium. And they're going to have to throw some wrinkles in there late in games and not let the players get complacent and blow these big leads that they seem to get all the time. But this is what they need to lean into, That being said, the flip side, I'm not that concerned with Dallas. I had in the preseason, I had Dallas losing to Cleveland. Of course, they beat Cleveland. I had Dallas beating the Saints. Of course, they lost to the Saints. I had Dallas losing to the Ravens, which they did. I had them at 1-2. That's exactly where they are at this point. CeeDee Lamb is eventually going to get better and get his timing back. I said that on this program. I said him and Brandon Ayuk, who I'll talk about here in a minute, they're going to be about 4 or 5 games getting into game shape because both of them held out all a training camp, wanting more money. Both ultimately succeeded, but the teams now have taken hits because of that. He's a big part of their offense, and he's making a lot of money, but he's not quite up to par yet. You have to train. And my dad used to tell me this as a kid, there's speed and there's football speed. You've got to get up to it. Only way you get up to football speed is playing football. Only way I'm getting better doing a show is continuing to do the show. Not talking about doing a show, not watching other people do shows. I have to do the show. You got to play football to get better. You play to win the game. That's what Herm Edwards says, right? So, but that being said, I had them making it as a wild card. The Eagles winning it and this team making it as a wild card. Mike Zimmer will get it together defensively. They're having problems against the run right now, in which I said now 21-1. Yeah, Pickle says it's 21-1. Yeah, that's crazy. I knew it was over 20-something wins. I mean, if you're a gambling person, there you go. Just, take Lamar against an NFC opponent. It's almost a lock, not unless he gets banged up or hurt with that defense. So that's why I like taking the Ravens. And like I said, Dallas will be A-OK, in my opinion. Okay. Pittsburgh. I just talked about the Chargers. Played out the way I said. Herbert shouldn't have played. He played anyway. Left in a walking boot. Pittsburgh, got to give them credit. The defense is really playing well. Still think they're a fraudulent team. One of the worst offensive scoring teams in the league. 50 points in 3 games in 2024. But they do have the best points per game defense and yards as well. They're living off that. They're going to stay with if they stay with Justin Fields throughout the season. Arthur Smith is a good coordinator for Fields. He had 240-something yards. I was surprised he hit that amount yesterday in their home opener. I do not expect that to last, though. I really don't. I think that he's going to. I think that he's going to cool down, and of course, when Russell Wilson gets healthy again, I still would stay. I would go back to Wilson for the longer term as the teams get used to it, as injuries settle in. We know that they're a very physical team. We know that T.J. Watt gets hurt just about every single year. That defense is not going to be that good all year long. It's just not going to hold up. It doesn't happen. But anyways, it is what it is. It's a good win, though. They're in first place. And I'm not sure if I'm going to put them in my Power 5 tomorrow night. Although I probably should for the sake of Ralph Williams there. But Ralph would probably agree with me. Other news. Again, not to be poo-poo guy, throwing a good friend, the guy that my service advisor, Jerry, from Darrell Waltrip. I think he may be watching the show, Jerry. What's up, man? I know you're a big 49er fan. I know this. But the Niners, not to say I told you so, blew another lead yesterday, even without George Kittle, no Deebo Samuel, no Christian McCaffrey. I'm not sure how good Trent Williams is right now. They did have a good game. Had a pretty good game. And what's his name? Jawan Jennings had a career day. Fantasy players, if you took Jawan Jennings, you had almost 50 points, Pickles. But they didn't win. They gave up a late lead late. And you know why that they gave up the late lead late? They gave up a 7-point lead late in the game. Ari Marvo from 33rd Team says that Javon Hargrave, that's their defensive tackle, big plug guy, tore his triceps and will be out for the season. Cal Shanahan says that's a big blow to their defense. And that's what I'm saying. That's a big blow to their defense. Hargrave got hurt, and without any line, Matt Stafford, and without no Cooper Kupp, no Puka Nacua, I don't even think Tyler Higbee's back. And you got tackles out everywhere. They came back and won that game. And now the 49ers are banged up like nobody's business, and they're 1-2. They're 1-2. I'm saying all that. I just don't think they're going to get it back to the Super Bowl. Guys want more money. They start to work out less because they're holding out. And of course, naturally, players get injured. That's the thing about a championship team. That's why it's a miracle that the Chiefs have done what they've done, Although I do think Kels is just about shot. But I've questioned his purity last year when he's playing like he has been playing, 20, 30 yards, 3 catches, 2, 90 or whatever, and a couple of touchdowns. All of a sudden, one game to the next late in the season. I digress. But the 49ers, they're looking like the team I thought they were. And I still think they still may get healthy again and make a run. But they're not going to win the West. I had the Rams winning it, and I feel like I'm probably not going to – that prediction's not going to come up. Maybe it will be Seattle. But think about Seattle for a second. Think about since Geno Smith had his resurrection. The last 2 years, the reason why they've been one and done in the playoffs. Last year, they didn't even make the playoffs, and the team decided to fire Pete Carroll, is because Geno Smith's play towards the end of the seasons falls off. I don't know if he gets a late nagging injury, if leagues get hip to what they're doing, or teams and whatever, but Geno Smith play falls off. I expect that perhaps to happen this time, although I like Charbonnet, the running back. I like Jackson Smith-Njigba there, that other receiver. And, of course, DK Metcalf is a beast playing at a high level. He's right in his prime. I get it. They've got some good defensive players here. McDonald's a good coach there, a good defensive innovator there with coming over from Baltimore. But I do think that he'll fall off as the season goes low. And I do think that the Rams will get healthy eventually. And it's going to come down to Matt Stafford versus him, or Matt Stafford versus Geno Smith, or a Geno Smith versus a Brock Purdy in that stout 49er team when they come back. So it's still shaking out. Again, like Bill Belichick says, this is the first quarter. These first 4 games is the first quarter. Then you got the second quarter. And then third and then fourth there with those last 5 games since we have 17 games. So I'm not ready to crown anybody out of the West. Seattle looks beatable, although, yeah, it's a good game. That was a good game. I didn't think Miami would play that bad because I saw Tyler Thompson play well before. But I think maybe teams have gotten something. He's showing something on film that's not good, and teams are keying in on it. So we'll see what happens here next week as far as that is. But I'm just saying that is a good. I haven't done good scope, bad scope in a while, but I do feel good about that team not getting back to the Super Bowl. Not this year. Maybe next year. But teams that usually lose the Super Bowl don't get back for a reason. Only one team, New England Patriots, since the salary cap was implemented in 1994. People ask me about the Bills. That was before the salary cap was implemented, 90 to 93. Okay. Pickle says he got knocked out. Yeah. I mean, they were all over him. Pickle says Travis Kelce's on his way out. Yeah. And here's the thing. What if something happens in the Rashid Rice case towards the city? Nobody's talking about that because we don't know what the city of Dallas is going to do. He has that hit and run that was on camera, him leaving the scene of an accident where they caused that big accident, racing out there on a highway. All this is on film. And it was on film of him leaving that, and he owns it and all that stuff. He did not get put on any commissioner exempt list. Hollywood Brown's out. Plus, Xavier Worthy's gotten quiet, and they have injuries there at running back. So they're not indispensable. They're not indispensable. The Broncos are going to get better. You know, the Raiders are up and down, but the Raiders are pretty solid at running the ball and getting the pass rush there. That's not going to be an easy out. They showed that last year. They showed that last year with Kansas City. And of course, this Charger team, that you got to keep Herbert upright. And of course, I think they'll be potentially, this Charger team could be potentially buyers at the NFL trade deadline coming up in November. So it's a lot to be. I'm not ready to crown anybody after 2 or 3 weeks. You know, I can't tell you, after following this Patriot team for 20 years, they went a 10-year drought, but they didn't win a Super Bowl, folks. And a lot of those years during that 10-year drought, I want to say Julian Edelman in 2015, he said that was our best team that he played on. And they started off 10-0. And that team lost late to that Denver team that went on and beat the Panthers in the Super Bowl, that team led by Peyton Manning. So we'll give you the Power 5 tomorrow. Tomorrow also, Rich Ferris will be on. Ask him some questions. What does he think? What's he getting from that locker room with Tennessee? I'll go over the Packers as well. A few games and teams that I've missed today. We'll get all that in there tomorrow. Got a great show tomorrow. Got a great show next week. Pickle says the politics won't let Rashid Rice go to jail during the season. I'm starting to believe that very well may be the issue there. They'll probably try to keep him out of trouble. Now, if he gets in trouble anyways, that's a Rashid Rice problem. You know, if he's willing to go out here and act a fool, but usually these players don't during the season. It's just when the coaches aren't keeping an eye on them that they go out here and act crazy here. I remember LT saying that, Lawrence Taylor. He said, Lawrence Taylor said, you know, when Bill left and the two Bills left, between Bill Belichick and Bill Parcells left, that was pretty much the end of me too. This was late Lawrence Taylor. This was Lawrence Taylor when he won Super Bowls and everything. He said when those guys left, that pretty much was into me too. And Michael Strahan was talking about him the other day. He said, you know, we just had to wake up Lawrence out of his nap during meetings and say, Lawrence, you want to run that defense? And yeah, sure, we'll do that. Pickle says he'll be locked up at Andy Reid's house. Put his own little ankle monitor on there with the Chiefs logo. All right, so folks, tune in tomorrow. Again, got Rich Ferris from the Titans flagship. We'll get a little bit more information on them. So great show tonight, everybody. I want to thank everybody. I will see you tomorrow, same time, same place, here on the Real Sports.